You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe your relationship can be stronger than ever after having a baby. It just takes tools, conversation, and support to help you get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, certified life and relationship coach, mom of two, and survivor and thriver of tough relationship challenges after babies. I'm committed to helping couples just like you improve your communication skills, connection points, and personal confidence so that you can have the life and family you've always dreamt of. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Better Relationships After Baby. I am so happy to have you here, to have you listening, and today I want to share with you some both research and just personal experience that I have found when it comes to how our kids learn and watch and see and do what we are doing. So we're going to be discussing how important it is to model healthy relationships and communication for our children and how this shapes their future interactions. I mean, there's a lot of ways that we think about how we are shaping the future for our kids. Maybe we're thinking about, putting money aside financially to help shape their future. We're thinking about their education. We're thinking about the opportunities and the ways that we can help them have more of those as they grow. We're thinking about, sports and extracurricular activities and socialization. But I would argue that one of the biggest ways we can invest in our children's futures is in modeling healthy relationships and communication so that, they can go the directions they want to go. They can have the experiences that they pursue. They're going to become, they already are, but they're going to continually show you that they are their own people. But the way that they see and understand and internalize things like relationships and communication is going to be vital no matter what direction they go, no matter if they do stay in that gymnastics class that you've enrolled them in at 2 years old and are hoping that they can, go to the Olympics over, or whether they do become an author because you know that they love to write and you're helping them with that. Like, no matter what happens, they're going to need that healthy concept of relationships and communication. As we are so close to back to school season, there is this meme that I've seen going around, and probably a couple of versions of it, that talks about how kindergarten teachers are about to know everything about you and your family. And I have been a teacher in my past life. I was actually a 3rd and 4th grade teacher before I had my kids. And at that time, my husband spent also a short stint as a preschool teacher. So we never did kindergarten, but we did a little older and a little younger. And it is so true that you start to learn so much. And the reality is that some of that is probably fabricated by their little imaginations. But they really do want to share and show and replicate the things that they are seeing and experiencing at home. Our children are so observant, and they really do absorb more than we realize. And that is so true when it comes to our relationships and communication styles. I mean, you can even sit and watch imaginative play when a couple of toddlers are playing family, or be on the playground of like 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders who are starting to quote unquote date and have boyfriends and girlfriends and all of these things. And if you have a very young one at home, don't turn this off, because this really does apply to you. You might also be surprised to learn how much this is really relevant and impacts you too. So there are studies that have shown that even newborns within hours after birth can mimic facial expressions and gestures. There was research back in 1977, before probably most of us existed, but by researchers by the name of Meltzoff and Moore. But they demonstrated that infants as young as 42 minutes can imitate adults' facial movements. This concept of mirror neurons helps explain this early imitation. Neurons fire both when an individual performs an action and when they observe someone else perform the same action, indicating to us that babies are wired to learn through observation even from birth. Infants learn to regulate their emotions by observing how their parents handle stress and express emotions. So, a study from 2004 found that infants as young as 6 months can pick up on their parents' emotional cues and adjust their behavior accordingly. And I don't want to say, I don't want anyone to feel guilt or shame, because there are very, very hard seasons through every part of parenting, at least the first 8 years that I've been a part of. So I'm not saying like you're going to ruin your kids, or, if you get frustrated or upset or don't do something perfectly. Like, I just need to give you this caveat that this is not about perfection. There are many times that I can look back and be like, I lost my shit. I lost my cool. I was so frustrated. My kids probably knew that even, in their infancy. Like my first child, I love him so much, and I'll share a little bit more about him later in this episode. But he did not sleep, and it was very, very hard and very, very frustrating. And when I look back, I think, there was probably he wasn't sleeping for whatever reason, and then there was a stressful, overwhelmed cue, sometimes even angry, for myself and my husband, and then that probably escalated his. Like, there's not going to be perfection here. So give yourself a lot of grace and love and patience. But I say this to say that, as best that we can, no one's doing it perfectly, as best as we can, we are becoming that model for them, for their emotional cues, for their behavior, for how all of this works. Now, by the age of 1, babies start to understand and produce words. So, the ways that parents communicate with each other and with their children plays a significant role in this process. There's a 1995 study that shows that the amount and quality of parental speech directed at children in those first 3 years of life is a major predictor of their future language skills and academic success. So that is really around like making sure that you're reading and having conversations with your child, but also, the ways that we converse and communicate, the words that we use, the interactions we have. This is going to be starting to plant in their brains. And then by age 2, children are engaging in, more complex play. They're often mimicking adult behaviors and social interactions, which can be so cute. And also, I know for many times for me, it's been like an oh shit moment where I'm like, oh, where did they learn to say that or do that or, show that? And I'm like, oh, they learned that from me. This is one of those oh shit moments where I have to make some changes because I'm responsible, for what they see and learn and internalize from me. Again, this is not by perfection. I've never met a mom. I've never met a parent, a couple that is doing this perfectly, but it highlights that in the midst of feeling so caught up in everything, like what the nursery looks like and what kind of clothes they have and how many story times you make it to and what extracurriculars you have. Like, those things are fine if those are important to you, but if those things are causing more stress in your home and your relationship and with your partner, if those things are causing less emotional regulation and less modeling of what you really want your children to become as humans, let this be a check-in. Like, if you don't have the time and energy to invest in your relationship and the patterns that your children are seeing. If you feel like you don't have the time and energy to take care of your own wellness and mental health and the way that you're talking to yourself and therefore talking to those around you, but you do have time to keep up with all these outside social expectations that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things, may I gently but strongly give you permission to put a lot of things on the back burner if they're not serving you, if they're not serving your family, your relationship, your growth, the things that are really forming your life and family and your children during this time. Because how parents interact with each other and with their children influences a lot about their social development and their understanding of relationships. So this comes from taking care of you, taking care of your relationship, taking care of what is happening inside your home. This consistent positive modeling from a very early age is crucial. Babies and toddlers are highly observant and sensitive to their caregivers' behaviors, emotions, and communication styles. So this means, again, if you're feeling like you're running all over the place to keep up with a bunch of things, let's do a little check-in. let's think about these things here. The intentional interactions. Parents can intentionally model healthy communication, emotional regulation, and problem solving. And this can be as simple as using calm and respectful language, showing affection, and demonstrating empathy and patience, not only to your child, but to your partner, to your pets, to yourself, to, the phone conversations you're having. And this is part of that early intervention, early development. Now, as they grow, studies continue to find that children who observe positive communication between their parents are more likely to develop effective communication skills themselves. So these children tend to have better social interactions. They're more adept at resolving conflicts in their own relationships. The National Institute of Child Health and Human Development has reported that children who witness their parents handling disagreements constructively are better equipped to manage their own conflict. I want to reiterate that because I think sometimes our goal becomes to never let our children see us argue or to shove things down and not address them or to paint this rosy picture perfect and then let other things happen behind the closed doors. And of course, not every part of your conversations or arguments or conflicts or disagreements with your partner should happen in front of your kids. There are very, very strong differences between what is appropriate for them and what's not. But it's not about never arguing. It's not about never having conflict and always pretending to be in perfect alignment with your partner. I mean, that's not realistic. And what a weird standard to set for our kids that either they have to be so dominant that their partner doesn't feel strongly speaking up, or that they have to put their own opinions and thoughts aside and not demonstrate them in order to maintain the peace. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want my kids to do either of those things. Research from the Gottman Institute shows that children who see their parents express emotions healthily and resolve conflicts are more likely to develop high emotional intelligence. So again, we put all this time into like our kids' extracurriculars and how early can they read and what can they do before kindergarten. And there's just so much external pressure. But some of the best things you can do is to model healthy emotions and conflict resolution. This includes understanding their own emotions, empathizing with others, and managing those interpersonal relationships empathetically and intentionally. Now, to speed things up a little bit, I've talked a lot about young children here, but I'm thinking about this even more personally because I have an almost 8-year-old. He will literally turn 8 in the next few days, who just had his first kiss. like gut me. It doesn't feel real. I mean, it doesn't feel possible. Um, and this, I mean, his first like, man, I love this girl kiss. Now, luckily for me, it was with the daughter of a doula, so I know that she is being raised with good values and respect of women and couples and bodies and processes. But it's just like a wow moment. I remember my first kiss, and it wasn't earth shattering. I wasn't spending those 0.2 seconds thinking about my parents' relationship dynamic or anything like that. But just this realization that my kids are growing older and they're thinking about love and relationships and connections has really highlighted to me that time is going fast. And what our children see is what they start to create in their minds as normal for relationships. So if I say that I'm a mom dedicated to making sure my children give and receive respect as they grow and as they start to have their own relationships, I have to remember that I am the first and primary place that they learn that. This doesn't mean, again, that everything has to look perfect. We know that conflict is a normal part of any relationship. It's not the presence of conflict, but how it is managed that determines the health of that relationship. And I really think this is a crucial lesson for our children to learn early on. This is going to impact them on the playground and in the classroom and all the places that they go. We don't want our kids to shut down. We don't want them to shut down their own voices, and we don't want them to shut down other people when there's conflict. We want them to understand that conflict is normal and that there are respectful ways to go through this. I did an episode a few weeks ago called Rupture and Repair, and that would be a great one to go back and listen to if you haven't listened to that one. We talk about the ability to repair after conflict and how crucial that is in the relationship. And there's research that says that that repair is more critical than the frequency of conflict. So successful couples are those who can navigate through disagreements, repair emotional injuries, and come out stronger. And I don't mean like those are people that are going to stay married forever. I would say that in my work, in my personal belief, a successful relationship doesn't have to have a certain start or end or never end or duration or, die married together after 50 years. Like successful, healthy relationships come in so many different forms. For many people, that is the goal of staying together forever. That is the goal of keeping that family unit together and continually learning and growing together. For some people, that is, if they reach a point that their marriage is no longer able to do what they needed it to do, that they're able to co-parent and split respectfully. Like, this is about having respectful conversations and communications. This is also a part that many couples struggle with because we all have different internalized expectations, personal patterns, and personality types. This is why in my coaching, I spend a lot of time with my couples to understand and own their differences and help them learn how to use them in tandem with one another. So we use tools like love languages and Enneagram and their personal strengths, but we really get personalized about what that means for them, about the norms and expectations they bring in based on what they saw growing up, based on the relationships they've had, based on the experience they've had thus far in the relationship that they're in, and really dig into how they can honor themselves, their patterns, their mindsets, while also understanding how to work in tandem with their partners. By handling these conflicts constructively, you get to model resilience and respect to your children. We're here to teach them that it's possible to disagree, it's okay to experience strong emotions, And in that, they can still maintain a loving and respectful relationship. If you ask me or my husband, we will both tell you that we aren't perfect. Our relationship isn't perfect, but we're really damn committed to prioritizing our relationship and the personal and relational growth that we need to keep doing life together as best as we can. Our arguments are not always the model cookie cutter, but we always make a point to openly and when applicable in front of the kids, repair and discuss and model what it means to have differences and keep honoring ourselves and honor one another. We actually had an opportunity to do this on a long drive home from a camping trip this weekend. And I called it an opportunity. It didn't feel like it at the time. It felt like, something happened and I was frustrated. And then, things felt a little tense and we weren't really jiving. And so we had a long car ride and we were able to talk about the way that we had different expectations going into that day, going into that morning. We saw the roadblocks differently. And just we have different personal values that drove our decisions. And we had this conversation, not like, we didn't tell the kids stop everything and listen in to your parents resolving this conflict, but they were there. They were reading books and watching shows on their tablet as we were driving home. But we know that they pick up on everything because sometimes they chime in or they repeat something that has been said while they've been around. And we found that as a really cool opportunity to be an example for the kids of having different opinions, of digging deeper and asking a lot of questions. This is something we try to do when we're in a conflict, is ask a lot of questions, get our assumptions out on the table, give the other person a chance to validate or to, challenge that assumption that's been made and write the story a little differently based on their experience. And really sometimes it comes down to just different like fundamental beliefs about how things should be done or about the world, and that's okay. We didn't end it by saying, okay, now we both are hand in hand agreeing on the way things should be and the world and everything is sunny. Like, we ended by saying, okay, I see the way that you were approaching this, I see the way that I was approaching this, and I see how those are different and why that difference caused this conflict. But we were committed, to both being able to respect our own journeys, our partner's journey, and having open and honest communication. We are not the same person. Thank God we are not the same person. But that means you don't marry yourself. That means you marry someone with different opinions, different ideas, different mindsets, different patterns. And I really believe that it doesn't matter how long you've been together, you can continually ask questions and get to different layers and continue to learn about one another. And that is something that can happen when you're repairing from conflict. I'd love for you to take some time to think about your own relationship dynamic and what that is doing right now to impact the future of your children. So, what kind of relationship would your children have if they only had what's modeled to them right now? What do you dream of them having? And in what ways do shifts need to happen in your home, in your family, in your personal life in order to give them a picture of that? I really think that there is so much going on in the world that, we can worry about and we can fret about, but also there's so much that we can do inside of our homes to continue to equip ourselves and our kids to do the most important things, which is to take care of themselves, to take care of other people, to have these healthy dynamics. And that is why my coaching services exist. That is why I encourage couples to invest their time and resources into understanding themselves and one another and their patterns and how to get better at communicating, at connecting, at working together as a team. So if you say you want that for your kids, I ask you, are you willing to invest in having growth and real impact in that in your own life? And if the answer is yes, reach out, because I am starting with new clients in just a couple of weeks when school goes back into session. I am ready to be here to help you learn about yourself, learn about your partner, learn about your relationship dynamic, and help you to get the insights and also the practical skills and patterns you need to grow that, to make it better, to have less resentment and overwhelm and bickering and more productive and respectful conversation, even when it comes to conflict, so that you can be a strong team. So that as a strong team, you can lead your home and your family, you can model for your kids, and you can do the things that really matter most to you in life. And that's going to be different for all of us, but that means knowing and investing in that. So again, you can email me, you can reach out to me on social media. I'm at Chelsea at postpartumtogether.com. Find me, and I will also put a link in the show notes where you can go directly to booking a call with me, which is where I'm going to learn more about you. I'm going to ask you some questions. You're going to ask me some questions, and I'm going to let you know what I have available. I have 3 different coaching tiers available right now, and I want to help you make sure that there is something that is accessible for you that will help you make improvements in your relationship right now without waiting, and really prioritize that. So I am rooting for you. I believe in you, and I'm ready to really serve you and your family. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.